So you want to know what are easy ways to lower stress? Well, in this video, you're going to learn all about easy ways to lower stress. Welcome to HEALTHdrum. I'm Dr. Bert Vorstman, a urological surgeon and former researcher. And this channel is all about routine medical conditions, self-care, and digital health, so you can be informed and in total control of your healthcare needs. By the way, if this is your first time on the channel and you like to get fact-based healthcare information, please hit the subscribe button for me. Also, HEALTHdrum is for educational and informational purposes only and not a substitute for professional medical advice. The links to the disclaimer and the material in this video are in the description below. Okay, so let's get into it and start sorting fact from fiction. So what is stress and how do we deal with it? So stress is a physical and mental response to perceived changes, situations, challenges, and threats. Everyone experiences stress to varying degrees, but whereas the same stress may be a challenge for some, others are able to deal with that particular stress quite easily. In other words, different people respond to the same stress differently, but the ways to deal with stress are the same for all. So what bodily reactions does stress trigger? Stress can produce a variety of bodily reactions. First, the brain reacts to the flight or fight mode and releases hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. This process helps the body deal with the stress of demanding challenges. It's particularly useful for temporary challenging demands, but it can affect overall well-being if the stress is prolonged. So what are common causes of stress? So here's a list of several common causes for stress. These include relationship issues, work pressures, financial problems, health concerns, social issues, and other causes such as infertility, pregnancy, abuse, and so on. You will recognize these causes easily and think of many more. So are there different types of stress? So yes, basically there are three main types of stress: acute stress, episodic acute stress, and chronic stress. Acute stress is short-term and can be a response to a specific event. Episodic acute stress is when acute stress occurs between intervals, and chronic stress is long-term and often linked to ongoing challenges, and this kind of stress can produce health issues. On the other hand, eustress refers to a stress that leads to a positive response, like discovering you passed your exam. So what are the physical and emotional responses to stress? Now you will be familiar with the symptoms of stress, as everyone experiences stress at some time. In fact, there are a lot of physical symptoms of stress, and these include such things as headaches, sleep disturbance, muscle pains, aches and tension, upset stomach, change in bowel habit, chest pain, depressed sex drive, and many more such as fatigue, shortness of breath, and so on. All of these issues, of course, can lead to further relationship problems and even more stress. Okay, so let's move on to emotional symptoms of stress. So here's a list of emotional symptoms of stress, and they include irritability, restlessness, anxiety, nervousness, mood swings, low esteem, feeling down or depressed, feeling overwhelmed, as well as many more such as excessive worry, emotional withdrawal, trouble making decisions, and so on and so on. Now, what about behavioral signs of stress? What can you notice about somebody when they're stressed out? So this is a screenshot of some of the behavioral signs you may witness about somebody who's stressed out. Signs such as social withdrawal, decreased productivity, nervous habits like nail biting or teeth grinding, substance abuse, aggression, irritability, avoidance of people or situations, impulsiveness such as reckless spending or gambling, and neglecting responsibility like missing deadlines or poor work performance. As well, you may witness avoidance of exercise or their difficulty to focus or control their emotions, as well as binge eating and other signs. So are there any health dangers because of prolonged or uncontrolled stress? So there are several health dangers caused by chronic stress. These include high blood pressure and heart disease. It can worsen asthma and COPD. It's associated with gut issues such as IBS or irritable bowel syndrome and chronic constipation. It can affect your immune status and make you more vulnerable to viral infections. It's also associated with increased muscle tension and chronic pain. As well, you can have an increased heart rate, skin rashes, weight gain, and many, many other issues. So are there any jobs or situations that are more likely to cause stress? So there are several recognized high-stress jobs, and these include frontline combat military personnel, those in law enforcement, first responders, emergency room physicians, airline pilots, corporate executives, and many other jobs such as test pilots, aircraft traffic controllers, anesthesiologists, social workers, and sports like skydiving. But these jobs or situations or sports tend to be selected by people that are confident in their abilities. In other words, what one person finds as stressful, another would find fairly routine. So is it true that when somebody likes their job, they tend to feel less stress? There are several reasons why liking your job leads to less stress. You experience increased motivation and engagement. There's a strong sense of purpose. You have reduced negative feelings, and you have better coping mechanisms and better overall mental and physical well-being. This makes you feel better about yourself because you are confident. Not only do you see this in your job, but also in hobbies and sports. For example, some people like skydiving, while others not so much. So why do different people react to the same stress differently? So there are several reasons why different people react to the same stressor differently. These reasons include personality traits, past experiences with similar or the same stress, coping mechanisms, biological factors such as genetics, gender, and age, as well as appraisal and control mechanisms such as how the stress was perceived and how you control it. In fact, it appears that the ventral medial prefrontal cortex of the brain is responsible for one's ability to cope with stress. So what are easy ways to manage and prevent stress? So let's look at this list of easy ways to manage and prevent stress. The number one thing about managing stress is prevention. It is by far the cheapest and most affordable method. Preventing stress is avoiding situations in your work or relationships that you find stressful. Also remember that these days opinions commonly lead to arguments. But it's important to realize that everyone seems to have an opinion these days, but opinions without accurate knowledge only broadcast ignorance. So the next most important preventive measure, although you may not be too motivated, is to undertake regular amounts of moderate exercise. You can start off with regular small amounts of exercise, but be persistent and build up to getting moderate amounts of regular exercise ongoing. By far, it's the easiest and cheapest way. Exercise releases endorphins, and they make you feel a whole lot better. As well, listening to the music you like is helpful, as well as spending time with family and friends and staying connected. Meditation and healthy lifestyle choices are also great ways to manage stress. And there are even more ways to manage stress, such as getting sufficient sleep, avoiding alcohol and stimulants, and limiting screen time, especially when on social media. This will also combat cyberbullying and information overload. As well, get into the habit of prioritizing tasks, focus on the positive, and know your limits. So why do individuals and material with negative outlooks worsen your stress. So hanging out with people who constantly express negative thoughts, or reading, listening to, or watching material that constantly exaggerates, sensationalizes, or downright lies about certain situations or events to stir you up can easily worsen your stress levels. And stress by association with negativity is easily amplified by social media. Negativity bias is common because humans tend to focus more on negative experiences and like it when somebody fails. As well, emotions can be contagious, so that if your friends or associates are prone to negative thinking, you may find yourself engaging in similar thought patterns of negative thinking. And being exposed or involved in these kinds of stressful situations can trigger stress responses in your body. Therefore, if you want to be happy and get rid of stress, make sure you cut your exposure to negativity and stop hanging out with people that like to bring you down, and stop reading or watching material that only gets you depressed. It's sad, but these days, instead of honesty, exaggeration, sensationalizing, and barefaced lying seem to be the new behavioral norm. This kind of behavior, however, is not normal and in fact very deviant. So when should you seek help if you can't cope with your stress? So when should you get professional help to deal with your stress? When you feel overwhelmed and unable to cope, when it interferes with daily life activities, when it causes persistent physical symptoms, unhealthy coping mechanisms, or substance abuse, when there's an inability to regulate your emotions, or you have panic attacks and or are constantly fearful, or having thoughts of self-harm and suicide. If you experience any of these issues, get help from a health professional, as therapy and counseling or medications may be very helpful for you. Again, it's important to realize that everyone experiences stress to some degree, but the most important thing is to learn how to control it. So once you've suffered from a few situations that stress you out, you will understand the challenges that trigger your stress. Learn to recognize these stress-causing situations, take actions to control and or overcome these stressful situations, and take actions to set boundaries, time management, and actions to prevent the stress from affecting you again. Controlling stress is all about managing or preventing the situations that produce your stress and finding alternative situations, friendships, or careers that don't stress you out. As well, it's important to be committed to regular amounts of moderate exercise, as this can be very helpful and an absolute stress buster. So let's recap. In this video, what are easy ways to lower stress? You learned that most everybody experiences stress to some degree, that the same stress can be felt differently by different people, and that there are several easy ways to lower stress levels. To learn more about routine medical conditions, self-care, and digital health, check out these other videos.